One of the most drummed up and visible features of the Mavic 3 is the dual lens system. But some very important functionality of the telephoto lens are not yet available and should be added by upcoming software upgrades. The second lens of the Mavic 2 has a field of view of 15 degrees, equivalent to 162 mm, therefore a very deep telephoto, about 7 times longer than the main lens. The sensor is only half an inch, quite small for today's standards, with a fixed aperture of f4.4. Also, at the moment, it is only possible to shoot footage at 4K at a frame rate of 30 frames per second, which is actually quite bizarre, and only in normal color mode. And even worse, it is not possible to set the aperture manually, only auto exposure is available. The intelligent flight modes are not available, and this is a pity, as in most cases we want to keep an element on the frame while rotating or sliding, and spotlight or point of interest would be extremely useful. Active track would also be very effective to follow a moving target from a distance. From the specs, we cannot expect footage quality anywhere near the one obtained with the main camera, but we will find out in a couple of minutes. For the moment, let's see how the zoom functionality operates on this drone. It is often referred to as optical zoom, but this is not correct. This is a true optical zoom for a DSLR camera. There is a complex system of lenses that move when rotating the zoom dial, and the image projected on the sensor gets magnified. Downside of optical zoom for drone is the size and the weight. The only true optical zoom in the Mavic line was the Mavic 2 zoom. It can shoot optically from 24 to 48 mm and anywhere in between. Most other drones offer some sort of digital zoom, where the footage is basically cropped and the size of the pixels increased, thus losing resolution, more or less the same as increasing the zoom level in a video editing program. Since the Mavic 2 has two different lenses, things works in a different way. From the main wide-angle camera we can zoom digitally to a factor of 2 times and 4 times. Then we jump to 7 times and the telephoto lens is engaged, so at this length the image is again optical. Then we can further zoom digitally, again to 14 times and a huge 28 times. To engage the zoom function called Explorer mode, we tap on the binocular icon. We can then tap on the icon below to go to the next zoom step, from 1 to 2 to 4, then 7, 14 and 28. We can scroll down with the finger to increase continuously the zoom level, or pinch in or out with 2 fingers, like in some smartphones. But the best method for smooth result is to use the left wheel of the remote controller while holding the function button. Notice that from 4 times to 7 times there is a big jump instead of the gradual zoom. Let's check the quality. Apparently in Explore mode we can only shoot at a resolution of 4K, as 5.1K is not available. This is the result of applying a 2 times digital zoom, and it is not bad at all. The footage is perfectly usable if encoded at 1080p for posting on social media, and even encoded at 4K it looks acceptable. But this function is only useful for users who don't have access to a computer. In my case, if I need to zoom to 200%, I would certainly not use the Explorer mode, but simply shoot at 5.1K and then zoom digitally on my computer with much more control. Let's compare the two clips. To get to the same size as the clip taken at 2 times zoom, I have to crop on the 5.1K clip at 150%. That makes me think that the image taken in Explore mode is actually using the entire resolution of the sensor. In this face-to-face, the results of the two methods are very similar, so Explore does an excellent job in the 2x digital zoom. Although I still prefer zooming on computer, as it gives me much more flexibility. Moving to a 4x digital zoom, the image falls apart and it is totally unusable, not even for social media. A 7x zoom, the telephoto kicks in, and the footage is again optical, not a digital zoom. The quality of the footage is obviously nowhere near the one obtained with the main camera. It is certainly softer, there is a tiny bit of noise in the shadows, and the dynamic range is much lower. But with some care it is possible to obtain very interesting clips with parallax, when we have elements on different layers at different distances. We can also shoot subjects that we could not get close to due to regulation or across a river or a lake. We can also film wildlife without disturbing it. It is possible to zoom digitally up to 14 and 28 times, but the quality is not nearly good enough for videography. These extreme zoom levels serve other purposes, like rescue, surveying, or scouting an unknown place to find interesting shooting opportunities. So, from the point of view of videography, the only way I use the dual lens system of the Mavic 3 is with a telephoto lens in native resolution, therefore at the 7x zoom level. I do find it to be a very useful tool, but there are some tricks to maintain a decent quality. It is better to select manual focus and set the focus point, as in autofocus mode the camera will keep chasing for focus. It takes a while to get used to remembering to focus each time. As an example, in this whole clip I forgot to do it, and as you can see the footage is ruined. Shoot only in easy light conditions, as the dynamic range of the sensor is very limited, therefore avoid shots in the direction of the sun or in low light. With a very narrow field of view of the telephoto lens, every move made with the stick of the remote control is magnified, so be very gentle to avoid abrupt results. Intelligent flight modes like spotlight and point of interest would be very useful here. Keep in mind that when shooting a subject several miles away, there is a lot of dirt in the air due to moisture, pollution, or salt when we are next to the sea. Make sure you make these sort of shots in days with clean air and very good visibility. Footage shot with a telephoto lens will have a bit of noise and some dirt, therefore the result can be improved using a good denoiser. I use the excellent Nit Video, a must for any serious videographer. You can watch my video about Nit Video by clicking on the link on screen now. You will find info about Nit Video and the Mavic 3 in the description below. By purchasing through these links, I get a small, tiny commission that really helps the channel going. The telephoto lens could be a very useful tool for reasons similar to the one for video. To get close-up views of places that we are unable to reach, but also for shots with a different perspective, as a telephoto lens reduces the distance between layers on different planes. The small sensor has a photo resolution of 12 megapixels, and we cannot expect excellent quality. But the real issue is that at the moment the features for photography with a telephoto lens are a joke. You can only shoot single shots, there is no manual exposure, no manual white balance, and no RAW format. Come on DJI, you cannot be serious. A few improvements should arrive with the next firmware upgrade. Once at least raw format, manual exposure and white balance will be added, I will analyze the results, but for the moment, photography with this lens simply cannot be taken seriously. Click on this link if you want to watch my in-depth analysis of video quality of the Mavic 3. And don't forget to hit the like button if you find this video interesting.